Hello and good evening, everyone. We got Friday Night Hoops on tap for you here on athletics.capital.edu as your Capital Comets get set to take on the Polar Bears of Ohio Northern. Hello again, everyone. I'm Charlie Daniels alongside Jonathan Brown. Well, Mr. Brown, it was a tough game last time out for Capital as they fell to Wilmington by a final of 76-73. This was a game that Capital was trying to catch up with Wilmington the entire night. Wilmington going through a very, very tough season, tough 2022-2023 campaign. McCain thinking by making a three-pointer with 9 seconds to go to bring Capital to within 2, but a made free throw by Gavin Heimlich, along with some timely defense at the end, allowed the Quakers to come away with the victory.
Yeah, thought it was going to be a nice, easy dub. This team, they faced a team that was bottom in the conference, only had one conference win coming into that matchup, and it's just unfortunate for them to lose in a tough one and a close one in the last final seconds with that one. Carter Combs had a phenomenal night with 22 points in that matchup. Behind him, Crawford finished with 15, and Megerly had 12 as well. So you have three of your key players with double-digit figures. You expect them to pull away with a win there, but unable to close it out.
What a game it was for Abdul Kanu. Kanu going 5 of 12 from the field. He went a perfect 9 of 9 from the free throw line as well. Pulled down 7 rebounds, dished out 6 assists, and more importantly, scored 20 points in that win for the Quakers. Also 15 points for Bryce Bird, 13 points for Gavin Heimlich, and 12 points for Abed Akiram. So, Capital, no choice but to turn the page tonight as they welcome in a Polar Bears team, Jonathan, that I think it's fair to say has had a very up and down season. Let's start on the offensive side for Ohio Northern. We were talking before the game about how they've had their fair share of struggles when it comes to shooting the three ball.
Yeah, they shoot 33% from behind the arc, so this isn't a team that is keen to shoot shots. However, they do put them up, 19 shots per game, so they're going to put them up there. It's just they aren't falling in the basket.
Some of the key players to watch out for this Polar Bears team tonight: Landon Long, senior out of Mason, Ohio, 10.8 points per game. Adam Scott, their senior forward out of Wapakoneta, the birthplace of Neil Armstrong, by the way, 10.7 points per game. But when you're talking about this Polar Bears team, it begins with their senior forward from Miamisburg, Ohio, C.J. Napier, 6'6", averages 17.1 points per game.
He's top 5 in OAC when it comes to scoring, and we notice when Capital faces players who match up or are leading in the conference, they struggle with stopping those players, and we've seen it in previous matchups against Mount Union. And the other team is slipping my name, Mount Union and Otterbein as well, when those two teams came here. And the thing that I want to point out and concern here is that now that we're approaching the second half of the season, this is the second time that the teams are facing off against each other, and it makes you want to ask, what adjustments are the coaches making here this late in the season? We understand that everybody's going to go to the tournament here. However, what changes are they making? Because they're the 6th seed right now in conference. That's 2 away from the 4th, and that's the difference between playing home court to start the tournament off or playing on the road. And I would love to have them play here at home court. You want the home court advantage, and they tend to play better at home. So we'll see what adjustments Coach Goodwin has made.
Still plenty of basketball left to be played. So after playing tonight, Capital will hit the road. They'll be at Heidelberg on February 8th, followed by another road game at Mount Union on February 10th, and then they finish up the regular season with a pair of home games here at the Capital Center. They host Marietta on February 15th before ending the regular season with a home game against Baldwin Wallace on February 18th. But first things first, got to take care of business against Ohio Northern. Looking at the standings in the OAC, entering play tonight, Ohio Northern 5-8, as Jonathan mentioned, near the bottom of the OAC standings. And then right above them is Capital at 6-7. Right above Capital is Otterbein at 7-6. And then Heidelberg and Marietta both at 8-5. So that home game in the first round of the OAC tournament still very much alive, but it's crunch time now, and you got to get these wins, especially against teams like Ohio Northern that are below you in the standings.
Yeah, this is, like I said, it's very important to get a win here this late in the season because the standings are so close looking at the rest of the remaining schedule. If we take a look at who Capital has remaining the rest of the way here, only a few games left, as this is the only matchup on Friday night for OAC, but they face Heidelberg, Mount Union again, Marietta, and they'll finish their last two games here at home versus Marietta and Baldwin Wallace. And there's two teams that I just mentioned that are in the top four, Heidelberg and Mount Union, and they suffered a loss to, I believe, Mount Union. I don't know if they lost to Heidelberg. Let me double check on that. If they lost, they lost to Heidelberg as well. So going on the road now to face those two after this matchup. And in this next four games, hopefully they can go 2-2 in those, and to finish off the season. Anything less than getting 2 wins here, it's going to be a tough thing to go into heading into the tournament season.
Capital facing Ohio Northern for the second time this season. It was Griffin Dosick that led the Comets to a 72-62 win on the road at Ohio Northern earlier this year. He was one of 4 Comets to score in double digits. Caleb Crawford had 13, Joe Thompson had 12, and Dom Magerle had 11. Will Miller was the one who led Ohio Northern in scoring with 20 points that night. Adam Scott also with a double-double, 12 points and 10 rebounds. So, Capital going for the season sweep tonight and looking to keep their chances of possibly hosting a game in the OAC tournament alive. Still have some games left to be played here towards the end of the regular season, and then before you know it, we'll be into tournament time, beginning with the conference tournament. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will have the national anthem, the starting lineups, and the opening tip-off. Comets and Polar Bears. Capital taking on Ohio Northern tonight here at the Capital Center here at athletics.capital.edu. Once again, thank you for joining us here tonight on athletics.capital.edu alongside Jonathan Brown. I'm Charlie Danis. Let's get you tonight's starting lineups, beginning with the visiting Polar Bears of Ohio Northern. At guard, the 6'2 freshman from Ottoville, Ohio, number 2, Will Miller. Also at guard, the 5'11 senior from Mason, Ohio, number 5, Landon Long. At center, the 6'8 senior from Springboro, Ohio, number 15, Michael Berner. At forward, the 6'6 senior from Miamisburg, Ohio, number 22, C.J. Napier. And rounding out the starting five tonight for the Polar Bears, the 6'6 senior forward from Wapakoneta, Ohio, number 23, Adam Scott. The head coach of the Polar Bears in his first year at Ohio Northern, Neil Young. And now the starting lineup for the Comets. At forward, the 6'7 sophomore from Ottoville, Ohio, number 5, Ryan Seaver. At guard, the 6'2 junior from Cincinnati, Ohio, number 11, Caleb Crawford. Also at guard, the 6'2 sophomore from Westchester, Ohio, number 13, Carter Combs. At forward, the 6'5 sophomore from Akron, Ohio, number 20, Don Magerle. And rounding out the starting five tonight for the Comets, the 6'5 sophomore forward from Minster, Ohio, number 42, Justin Nixon. The head coach of the Comets in his 28th year at Capital, the legend, Damon Goodwin. Well, as we outlined during the pregame show, this is a win that Capital needs a lot as we are inching closer and closer to the end of the regular season. Just a couple games out of that fourth and final spot, fourth top spot, I should say, in the OAC standings that would allow Capital to host an OAC tournament game.
And that is going to be very important to get the home court advantage here. And to notice in this matchup, they'll be without two of their key players, Alex Ink and Joe Thompson will not be suiting up for this matchup. So we'll see how Coach Goodwin has made their adjustments to pull through for this victory here.
Our officials tonight, Jeff Vejsicki, Ben Siroka, and Jesse Joseph. Ohio Northern in their orange uniforms, Capital in their home grays. The tip is up. It's won by Capital. We're underway here at the Capital Center. Crawford, left wing, surveying the Polar Bear defense. Waiting for somebody to get open. Combs finally takes the pass. He'll dribble to the right wing. Over to Dom near the corner. Back to Combs. Back to Magerle. 12 to shoot for Capital. Magerle, 15-footer off the mark. And the rebound is taken by Ohio Northern. Will Miller grabbing it for the Polar Bears. Miller now brings it across half court. Off to Long. Long near the top of the arc. And inside, and 2 points. Nice pass inside to Will Miller, and it's the Polar Bears who draw first blood.
Will Miller, one of the team's fourth leading scorers for the Polar Bears.
Averaging 7.5 points per game, freshman out of Ottoville, Ohio. So an early 2-0 lead for Ohio Northern early on. Crawford, he will drive, and he'll miss the layup. No good. Rebound taken by Michael Berner of Ohio Northern. Polar Bears looking to push a little. Napier gets cut off defensively. Now it's swung around to Long. Long will try a three, and he'll knock it down. A quick 5-0 lead for the Polar Bears.
That's what we talked about. We talked about that they shoot 33%, but their volume, they're not afraid to shoot the ball from behind the arc.
Seaver, right wing, over to Combs, back to Seaver. Seaver dribbling around, now back out to Combs near half court. 11 to shoot for the Comets. Combs trying to create. Back out to Seaver. Inside to Nixon, but the pass doesn't get there. It's a turnover for Capital, and boy, you can't draw up a worse start if you're the Comets, down 5-0 early on.
And we talked about they have to be able to start their games on a stronger note. Because later in the game, they try to pick up, and the damage has already been done.
5-0 lead for Ohio Northern. 18:09 left to play in the first half. Long over to Miller. Now they'll go inside of the big man Berner. Back out to Miller. Miller double teamed. Miller's still dribbling around in the corner, and he lost it out of bounds. He said that he got bumped, but he lost the ball out of bounds. That's a turnover for the Polar Bears. Back to the Comets.
Definitely needed. Hopefully Capital can capitalize on this turnover.
Crawford will bring it across half court. The 6'2 junior out of Cincinnati, Ohio, former Princeton product. They'll go to Crawford, now back over to Nixon. Nixon trying to back his man down off the glass. No good. Rebound taken by Ohio Northern as Scott grabs the rebound for the Bears. Long. Over to Scott. Scott with a pass inside, but it goes off the fingertips of C.J. Napier, one of the leading scorers in the OAC. Another turnover for ONU.
Capital given another opportunity here. Still looking for their first points.
5-0 lead for Ohio Northern. 17:24 to play in the first half. Megerly, right wing, going over his options. Now over to Crawford. Swung around to Combs. Now to Seaver. Seaver near the left elbow. Now back outside to Crawford. Crawford now calling for a pick. Trying to make a move. Jumper from the foul line. That's no good. Rebound grab by Adam Scott of ONU. Up ahead to Napier. Back to Scott. Scott with a little spin. Cut off defensively by Nixon. Now it's back over to Scott. Scott will try to go baseline, but blocked. Blocked by Nixon, but off the back of Dom Megerly, as Dom was not expecting the pass that time. Head coach Damon Goodwin voicing his frustration with that pass, and a careless turnover there for the Comets.
Something good, and it turns into a negative. It's only the second turnover for Capital, so not too bad. Per game, they average about they average 14.5 turnovers per game.
Polar Bears back with the basketball. Miller, right wing, dribbling to his left. Now over to Scott. Now it's in the hands of Napier. Napier will try to go down the lane. Little spin, hook shot. That's short. Batted out, and a battle for the loose ball. Seaver comes away with it for Capital.
Good hustle play right there.
Crawford across the timeline. Over to the left wing. Drives inside, a little kick. Back inside now to Nixon, the big man, dribbling around. Almost lost it. Crawford gets it back for the Comets. 12 to shoot for Capital. 8 seconds now as Crawford is calling for a screen. Trying to put a move on his man. Still dribbling around. 2 seconds. Jumper. That's no good. And the rebound is taken by Adam Scott, who's been a big presence on the board so far for the Polar Bears. It's still 5-0 in favor of Ohio Northern. 15:41 remaining in the first half. Long will go inside to Burner. Back out to Long for three. That rattles in and out. The rebound taken by Seaver. Here comes Capital. Megerly, left wing. Over to Crawford. Now it's over to Combs. Combs, double team, over to Seaver for three. That's no good. And the rebound once again is taken by Scott. Man, call him the Windex man. He has been all over the glass tonight.
He's doing a good job of hustling and doing the dirty work. That's the work that nobody wants to do for real.
Long, trying to dribble down the lane. A little spin move, tough shot, no good. Offensive rebound by Napier. Can't get that shot to go, but he was fouled.
That'll be on Seaver. That's his first, team's first.
So Napier will head to the foul line where he usually does good work. 79% for the big man from Miamisburg. Attended Bishop Fenwick High School back during his high school days. And the first free throw for the lefty shooter is no good. Meantime, some substitutions. McCain Finkenbein comes out there along with Trey Hammond and Griffin Dosick. And some substitutions for Ohio Northern as well. Polar Bears will have Ethan Bell and Heath Jeffries. Bell is a sophomore from Marion. Jeffries is a senior from Newark. He went to Newark Catholic High School, which, oh, by the way, has a very good football program. As Napier is able to knock down the second free throw, he'll head to the bench. And now it's Carson Conley, the junior from Newark. He went to the other high school in Newark, Licking Valley.
Well, you talked about Griffin Dosick coming in. You want to give him a quick congratulations on reaching the 500 career mark here at Capital as a senior.
Well deserved, as he was able to do that against Wilmington, correct?
Yes, sir.
Trey Hammond over to Dosick. Now to McCain Finkenbein. Seaver to Hammond. 8 to shoot. Hammond will try a three. That's short. And the rebound, well, it was going to be taken by Miller, but he lost it out of bounds. But now they're saying that it went off the hands of Combs. I could have sworn that went off the hands of Miller, but what do I know?
Well, that shot is money for Hammond. He is the second best field goal percentage shooter for 3-point field goal shooter in the OAC.
14:21 remaining in the first half. A 6-0 lead for Ohio Northern. Bell passing it over to Conley. Now over to Jeffries. Now to Bell. To Scott. 1 second. And Scott, I don't know if he got the shot off or not, but it was way over the backboard, and Capital will definitely take it.
It wasn't close. We'll take that turnover. I see third turnover for Ohio Northern. Still, Capital put up 7 shots. None have fallen so far, so got to change something, make something happen here to get their first basket.
Nate Gerber, the junior from Laddie, Ohio, checks in for the Comets. Coach Goodwin trying to find some answers here offensively. McCain Finkenbein, top of the arc, passing over to Combs. Back in the hands of Combs. And Combs nearly lost it to Gerber for 3.
Splash!
And he knocks it down. Finally, the seal is broken for Capital. They're down by 3, 6-3.
From somebody who shoots 18% from behind the arc, hey, good spark to light the match here for Capital.
Hey, it doesn't matter how bad they may be shooting from a certain part of the floor. You're just happy that the ball went in the hoop. They'll go inside, and a turnover. Gerber comes away with the loose ball. Finkenbein will bring it across half court. McCain, right wing. He'll dribble inside and misses the layup as a rebound is taken by Heath Jeffries, the 6'6" senior from Newark.
I think he was surprised that lane was that wide open.
I was too, with all the trees that they happen to have on this Ohio Northern team. Adam Scott drives in, jumper, knocks it down. Scott's been having a very good game, particularly from a rebounding standpoint, and now he contributes there offensively. It's now 8-3 in favor of Ohio Northern with 12:38 to play in the first half.
He's the third leading scorer here on Ohio Northern, with averaging 10 points per game.
Hammond, left wing. Trey, step back 3. And that is no good as the rebound is taken by Ethan Bell for ONU. Bell dribbling to his left, now in the hands of Scott. Scott trying to look inside, instead passes it over to Jeffries. 12 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Over to Scott now. Not a Bell. Bell, long 3, and he knocks it down. 11-3 in favor of Ohio Northern with 11:55 to play in the first half. Remember how we talked about the volume with three-pointers? Not afraid to shoot the three-pointer. Dosick drives in and scores.
Able to get that in. I was just saying, Bell shoots 42% here for Ohio Northern from behind the arc. So, like you said, it doesn't matter who shoots it. The ball went in the hoop.
Will Miller on his way to the hoop. And now stoppage of play. Mass substitutions as Crawford, Magerly, and Nixon come back in, along with Ryan Roth for Capital. Meantime, C.J. Napier and Michael Berner, they also come back in for Ohio Northern, as well as Landon Long.
So that foul call was on Finkenbein. That's his first, team second.
Ohio Northern trying to inbound it. They do to Long. Now in the hands of Bell. Bell double teamed in the corner. Somehow got the ball out. Three-pointer. That's no good. Napier with an offensive board. Napier, hook shot is good.
How did he get that pass off? He is trapped in the corner and somehow made a dime of a pass to his teammate all the way across the other court.
Meantime, great footwork by Napier as well in the post, as he was able to gather his miss and ultimately put it home. 13-5 in favor of Ohio Northern. 11:08 to play in the first half. And a nice move to the hoop for Dom Magerly. And now, officials' time, as looks like something fell to the floor, perhaps? Don't know if that was like a mouthpiece or what, but it was picked up by one of the officials. So I guess all is well now. It's a 13-7 game in favor of Ohio Northern, coming up on 11 minutes to play here in the first half. Napier over to Berner. Now in the hands of Bell. They'll go inside of the big man, Napier. Napier dribbling around, back outside, three-pointer for Conley, and it rattles home.
For a team who doesn't shoot that well from behind the arc, they're off to a good start here.
16-7, largest lead of the game for Ohio Northern. It's at 9 as we approach 10.5 to play in the first half. Crawford to Nixon to Gerber. Gerber with a little pump fake, but thinks better of it. And now he needs to pass it, and he gets fouled. Looks like Carson Conley is the one that gets hit with a foul, his first, team's first. And Gerber, by the way, very lucky that he got fouled because it looked like he was trapped.
We'll take that as a bailout opportunity here for Capital.
Crawford, meantime, will inbound it from the far side. Crawford to Magerle. Now in the hands of Crawford. 17 to shoot for the Comets. Gets a little screen over to Nixon. Nixon to Crawford. Crawford, 10-footer. No, actually it rattles in. Wow, okay. Kind of hit all parts of the rim that time, but the main thing is it went down.
We'll take the lucky bounce.
16-9 in favor of Ohio Northern. 10:02 remaining in the first half. Burner over to Napier. C.J. Napier going baseline, driving, misses the shot, and Magerle grabs the rebound for Capital. Crawford looking to push. Over to Roth. Now back over to Crawford. Crawford spinning around, dribbling around. 17 to shoot for the Comets. Three-pointer for Gerber, and he knocks it down. Now, Nate Gerber.
He got the hot hand from behind the arc. Perfect. So far, 2 for 2. Like we said, he shoots 18% on the season from behind the arc.
Brings Capital to within 4, 16-12. 9:22 left to play in the first half. Burner over to Long. Long driving inside. Gets it to Napier. Napier misses the shot. Battle for the ball. Napier gets it back. Then he gets fouled.
And lost his shoe as well.
Caleb Crawford saying that Napier traveled while trying to shoot, but to no avail.
It did look like a travel call as we have a player, Ohio Northern, lumping over to the bench, just landing Long, getting ready to get subbed out.
Mason Studer, the freshman out of Galleon, is getting set to check in for Ohio Northern. Meantime, Napier will head back to the free throw line.
79% on the season from the arc, and he's already been at the line in this game so far. 1 for 2.
Lefty shooter, and he makes the first. Rattles that one home. 17-12 in favor of the Polar Bears. 9:09 left to play in the first half. One more free throw attempt for Napier. One of the top scorers in the OAC and a guy that has seemingly been around forever here in the OAC as of late.
As he splits that again.
Missing the second free throw. Crawford on the right wing. Gets a screen from Nixon. A little kick. Roth from the corner. Too strong. Rebound, however, by Gerber. Back inside to Nixon. Nixon, tough shot, missed it. And Napier grabs the rebound for Ohio Northern. 17-12 in favor of the Polar Bears. Three-pointer swishes through for Carson Conley, and the three-point magic continues for ONU.
I don't know what they put in the water today, but I guess the secret is 3 points because they are hot from behind the arc.
They have certainly been special from downtown tonight so far. 20-12 in favor of Ohio Northern. 8:20 to play in the first half. Crawford backing his man down. Back outside. Gerber, a little pump fake. 20-footer, no good. Battle for the ball. Ohio Northern eventually comes up with it. Carson Conley grabs the rebound for the Polar Bears. Now a drive and a kick to Studer, and then losing it out of bounds is Conley. And so now Dosick, Hammond, and Seaver will check back in for Capital. And it looks like Adam Scott will be back in the game for Ohio Northern. 7:59 to play in the first half. 20-12 in favor of Ohio Northern, and the big surprise has been the three-point shooting for a Polar Bears team that was only shooting 33% as a team heading into play tonight. So far, it's worked out in their favor as Dosick will let loose a three. And he'll knock that one down. Brings Capital to within 5, 20-15. Miller Trying to drive, but cut off defensively by Seaver. Over to Napier. Napier just outside the arc. Trying to drive against Dosick, but Dosick doing a nice job of holding him off right there. Scott will pass off. Studer, he'll launch a three. Off the mark, no good, and Crawford grabs the rebound for Capital. Caleb looking to push. A kick. Seaver, three.
Splash. He called bank.
How about that? Somehow able to get that shot to go down. Brings Capital to within two. And now a timeout will be taken by Ohio Northern. Well, the three-pointer allowed Ohio Northern to get out to the early lead. The three-pointer has now allowed Capital to get back into this game.
And can't live or die by the three, but I guess it's a back-and-forth matchup here for both teams. Ohio Northern shooting 50% from behind the arc, but guess who is as well? Capital. So both teams are putting up the shots, and both teams are getting the same equation at the end.
This is the only game involving OAC teams tonight. Everybody else will be playing the next day. That would be on Saturday. And just to give you a little bit of a preview here while we have a moment, Muskingum will play host to Heidelberg at 2 o'clock. By the way, all these games will begin at 2 o'clock. Otterbein plays host to Baldwin-Wallace. Marietta, this ought to be a good game. Marietta will head to John Carroll, take on the Blue Streaks. And then finally, Mount Union has to hit the road. They will travel to Wilmington, who has had a tough season. But for some odd reason, the Quakers have been a thorn in the side for a bunch of teams in the OAC. They're not a team to be taken too lightly.
Well, I know they have a new head coach this year, and there's a lot of new head coaches in the OAC this year, but you never want to count anybody out, and they are certainly the underdogs, but they will be participating in the tournament as well. And so, hey, somebody's got to make some trouble, and you don't want to count them out.
Meanwhile, with our game, 7:08 to play in the first half. It is Ohio Northern 20, Capital 18. A briskly played game so far. Both teams finding success from three-point range. And right now, they're examining Ryan Seaver over there on the sideline. Looks like the athletic training staff is attending to him. He needs a bandage on something, maybe a finger. They stop play every time there is blood, so they just wanted to get that fixed before resuming play. Polar Bears on offense. Napier, boy, he loves to go to that left-handed hook shot, doesn't he?
Hey, he's finding a way to get to the hole here. I just want to point out, in their first matchup earlier in the season, he only had 13 points.
Crawford trying to dribble out of a double team. Swung around to Dosick. Dosick now hands off to Roth. Roth, little pocket pass to Dosick. Kick. Hammond, three. No good. Tipped around. Seaver with an offensive board, but saved it into Scott of Ohio Northern. And the Polar Bears come away with it. Napier. Over to Miller. Now in the hands of Now back in the hands of Napier. Napier will drive on in and score. No, he'll miss it. That ball was halfway down. He tried scoring it with the right hand instead of his natural left hand. Goes out of bounds. Back to the Comets.
Doesn't get that lucky roll, and that time it rolled out not in their favor. Capital got an opportunity here to rebuttal.
Crawford. They'll bring it across half court. Comets trailing 22-18. 6:02 to play in the first half. Dosick inside. Combs could not handle that pass, and there was a lot of traffic that they were trying to maneuver that ball into. That's a turnover. It's back to the Polar Bears. Will Miller, freshman out of Ottoville, Ohio, brings it across half court for the Polar Bears. Now to Burner. Back to Miller. 13 to shoot for ONU. Scott, guarded by Crawford. Trying to back Crawford down. Now over to Conley. Conley gets it out to Scott for three, and he rattles that one home. Big man knocking down trifectas tonight.
Scott is a 31% shooter from behind the arc. I don't even want to count at the numbers right now. They're just hitting.
Crawford on the left wing. Guarded by Seaver. Over to Hammond. Hammond, couple of pump fakes. And then over to Dosick. Dosick, he'll try to drive the lane, but he's cut off. Over to Crawford. 5 to shoot for the Comets. Got to get a shot off here at some point. Crawford to Seaver. It's tipped around, and that's another turnover for Capital. Active hands defensively by the Polar Bears.
That's turnover number 5 for Capital.
Conley over to Miller. Miller dribbling in. Back outside to Scott. Now they go inside of the big man Napier. Napier double teamed by Dosick and Crawford. Now out to Conley. Conley trying to drive in. And the ball is loose, and Seaver comes away with it. Up ahead to Combs. Combs thought about a 3, but goes inside. Gets a nice pass back inside to Dosick. Good teamwork there. A little back and forth between Combs and Dosick, and it adds up to free throws.
That was a good ball movement pass from Dosick to one another. So, hey, at least some free throw shots here, so we'll take that. That was a foul on Will Miller. That's his first, and that'll be Ohio Northern's second. Dosick heads to the free throw line, misses the first one. On the year, Dosick is 70% shooter from the free throw line.
Meantime, Magerle, Gerber, and Finkenbein back in for Capital. And if Dosick makes this free throw, Nixon will come back in for him. He does. So now Nixon will check in for the Comets as well. 4:20 to play in the first half. It's Ohio Northern 25 and Capital 19. Will Miller, cross half court. Guarded by Carter Combs. Now over to Jeffries. Now in the hands of Long. Long inside to Jeffries. Over to Miller, and Miller's reverse layup is no good. Nixon grabs the rebound for Capital. Finkenbein over to Magerle. Inside to Gerber. And Gerber's going to be whistled for an offensive foul. Now, there might have been a little acting by Carson Conley that time. Maybe a little bit of flopping, but whatever he did, he sold it well. And, again, Capital giving the ball right back to ONU.
You said it best. He just won him an Emmy right there. What a performance, and he was awarded the foul.
And remember, the Oscars are not until mid-March. 25-19 in favor of the Polar Bears with 3:43 to play in the first half. Tough shot, no good, but Nixon can't grab the rebound. He was up in the air. It's an offensive board for Will Miller. Miller can't get that shot to go. This time Nixon grabs the rebound for the Comets. Combs, long 3. No, rebound taken by, guess who, Adam Scott. How many rebounds does he have now?
So far in this matchup right here for Adam Scott, that's 6.
Scott, meantime, drives in, can't make the shot, and the rebound taken by Nixon for Capital. Here comes McCain the other way for the Comets. Finkenbein has his pass batted away inside. Nixon finishes with the right hand.
Feed the big man.
Ohio Northern 25, Capital 21. Under 3 to play in the first half. Scott over to Long. Now in the hands of Conley. Now to Scott. Scott left wing. Over to Long. Long top of the arc. Inside. And an easy 2 points for Will Miller. Only 6'2", but the freshman from Ottoville, Ohio, was able to sneak behind the defense and score 2 more. 27-21. ONU with the lead. 2.5 to play in the first half. Nixon passing off to Combs. Combs inside to Nixon. Nixon outside. Gerber. 3. Rattles in and out. The rebound is taken by ONU.
Maybe the hot hands kind of sizzled down.
Landon Long across half court now for ONU as they look to get something going here in the half court. Scott trying to back Gerber down, but instead passes out to Miller. Miller trying to drive, stumbles, loses it. Magerle comes up with the ball for Capital. Here comes Dom the other way, and he'll be called for a charge.
Oh, it's a good job by Landon Long by putting his body on the line right there.
Back in the game for Ohio Northern is C.J. Napier. So, boy, bad luck there for Capital as the last couple times that they've been down the court offensively, only to give the ball back to Ohio Northern following offensive fouls. 27-21. Polar Bears with the lead. 1:49 to play in the first half. Napier with a little reverse layup. Can't get that one to go. Then Napier is called for a foul. That'll be his first. team's third. And now a substitution as Adam Scott. Boy, that was not that much of a break as he immediately comes back into the game for ONU. Napier will take a seat. I'm guessing ONU is just taking the cautious approach, not allowing Napier to get into foul trouble before the end of the half.
Well, comparing both teams, Ohio Northern doesn't have that much of a depth compared to Capital, so giving your star player a rest here.
Magerle twisting, turning outside. McCain Finkenbein for three. That's no good. Tipped around, and ONU finally grabs the loose ball. Up ahead to Burner. Burner double teamed. Back outside. Three-pointer. That's no good. Nixon grabs the rebound for Capital. Minute 9 remaining. 27-21 lead for the Polar Bears. Finkenbein to Gerber. Over to Magerle. Magerle dribbling to his left. Now they'll go inside of the big man Nixon. 13 to shoot. Nixon near the right block. No, Gerber lost it. But luckily, Ohio Northern was the one that tipped it out, so Capital will keep the ball here. 9 seconds to shoot.
And just like that, C.J. Napier is back in.
So Napier back in for ONU. Finkenbein, meantime, will inbound it from the far side. Over to Magerle. Gerber with a screen. Dom back to Finkenbein. He'll launch a deep three. That's no good. It'll go out of bounds, and it'll go back to Ohio Northern. And, boy, that Coach Damon Goodwin not impressed at all with that last offensive possession.
Understanding that it was only 2 seconds on the play clock, so I understand you got to get a quick shot off, but just not a smart selection right there.
Miller passing over to Long as we approach 30 seconds to go here in the first half. Napier missing the three. Rebound taken by Combs. Bounce on over to Finkenbein, who will bring it across half court. Shot clock, game clock, virtually the same. Capital will hold for what will be the last shot of the half. Finkenbein with 9 to shoot. Bouncing it over to Gerber. Over to Dom. Now to Nixon. Nixon can't finish the shot, but he did get fouled. So Nixon, the sophomore from Minster, Ohio, will get a chance at free throws here. 3.1 seconds to go in the first half.
That foul on Will Miller, that'll be the team's 4th foul. Nixon on the season, 64% from the free throw line.
First shot is up and good for Nixon. Nothing but net there for the big man. He'll get one more shot. No substitutions will be made by either team here, as he'll knock down the second. Miller will inbound it. 3.1 seconds here. Back to Miller. He'll get across half court. He'll launch a three, and that is no good. That is how the first half will end. At halftime, the score, Ohio Northern 27, Capital 23. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll preview some matchups in the OAC tomorrow, as well as what will be a very busy Saturday when it comes to Division I men's basketball coming up tomorrow afternoon and evening. Again, at the half, it's Ohio Northern 27, Capital 23, here on athletics.capital.edu. They are hoisting half-court shots here at halftime. At the half, it's Ohio Northern 27, Capital 23, alongside Jonathan Brown. I'm Charlie Danis. So our game is the only game involving OAC teams tonight. Here's what the schedule will look like tomorrow afternoon. All games scheduled for 2 o'clock starts. Muskingum playing host to Heidelberg. Baldwin Wallace at Otterbein. Good matchup between John Carroll and Marietta. It'll be the Blue Streaks hosting the Pioneers in that one. And finally, Mount Union taking their act on the road. They'll be at Wilmington taking on the Quakers. Of those 4 games right there, Jonathan, which game stands out to you the most?
If I had to say the game that stands out to me most, I got to go with Marietta and John Carroll. That's going to be a tough matchup right there for both of them teams. Understanding that John Carroll's the number 1, and Marietta's the number 4 seed. And if Marietta's able to pull off a victory here, that's going to shake things up in the standings. And hey, I know Mount Union, they should handle business against Wilmington, but if Wilmington's pulling out another lucky win here,
yep.
Hey, I don't want to count them out either.
I'll tell you what, Luke Frazier has been a godsend for the Blue Streaks. The former Dayton Flyers product chose to go from Division I to Division III to move closer back to home, and it's paid off beautifully for John Carroll as they currently sit in the top spot in the OAC standings. So that's what the schedule will look like when it comes to OAC basketball tomorrow. Meantime, very busy slate of games tomorrow when it comes to Division I men's basketball, with still a lot to be all sorted out before we get to the all-important month of March Madness, and all of that hoopla. So here are some of the games that you should pay attention to tomorrow if you are a hoops junkie, starting with a triplet of games here now beginning at noon. 6th-ranked Virginia will be at Virginia Tech. 8th-ranked Kansas will be heading to 13th-ranked Iowa State at noon. That'll be a good battle in the Big 12. And finally, 24th-ranked Connecticut. They'll be on the road taking on a struggling Georgetown team. At 1 o'clock, 11th-ranked Baylor will play host to Texas Tech. Good matchup in the SEC at 2 o'clock as 25th-ranked Auburn takes on 2nd-ranked Tennessee. The Vols have been very strong this year.
I just know that the number 1 team has been fluctuating. Didn't they just lose the Tennessee just lost, I forgot, earlier last week.
Yeah, they lost to Kentucky, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks ago. The team that's currently number 1 in the nation, that'd be the Purdue Boilermakers. They got a big rivalry game coming up. They will be taking on 21st-ranked Indiana in Bloomington beginning at 4 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, pair of top 25 teams from the ACC. 23rd-ranked Miami of Florida will be taking on Clemson at that time. 14th-ranked Marquette will play host to Butler at 2 o'clock. 15th-ranked Texas Christian will hit the road. They'll be at Oklahoma State. At 4 o'clock, 4th-ranked Alabama will be playing Louisiana State at 4 o'clock. Top 10 teams in the Big 12, which has been a very strong basketball conference this year. 10th-ranked Texas will be making the trek to Manhattan, Kansas, to take on the 7th-ranked Wildcats in that one. 19th-ranked Florida Atlantic. Never thought I'd say Florida Atlantic was a top 20 team, but there's a first time for everything. They play at 4 o'clock when they hit the road to take on Charlotte. 16th-ranked Xavier, who has been having a resurgent year. The Musketeers playing host to St. John's at 5 o'clock. 9th-ranked UCLA will welcome in Washington State at 7. 5th-ranked Arizona will be playing Oregon State beginning at 9:30. And then a really good matchup out west if you're willing to stay up late. At 10:30, 18th-ranked St. Mary's taking on 12th-ranked Gonzaga, who I heard lost their first conference home game for like the first time in 5 or 6 years. That's just how dominant Gonzaga has been out west. But that ought to be a good one between St. Mary's and Gonzaga.
That should be good. Like I said, you never know what can happen in NCAA basketball. Number 1 team switches each and every week, and so these teams are gearing up just like here in OAC for that big month of March.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll examine the stats from the first half. Again, it's Ohio Northern 27, Capital 23 here on athletics.capital.edu. Welcome back to the Capital Center. Still halftime. Ohio Northern leading Capital 27-23 at the break. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats from the first half. First team statistics. Ohio Northern shooting 36% from the field. Capital 32%. Polar Bears shot 5 of 12 from downtown, good for 42%. Capital, meantime, 4 of 13, good for 31% from beyond the arc. Both teams didn't really make it to the free throw line all that much. Capital 3 of 4 from the line, good for 75%. Ohio Northern 2 of 4, good for 50%. Polar Bears out-rebounded the Comets in that first half, 19-15. Assists, Ohio Northern 6, Capital 4. Both teams with 7 turnovers. Bench points, Capital 12, Ohio Northern 9. Blocks, only 1. That belongs to Capital. Not a lot of fast break points. Ohio Northern 3, Capital 0. Steals, Capital 3, Ohio Northern 2. Points off turnovers, Capital 7, Ohio Northern 3. Points in the paint, Ohio Northern 10, Capital 6. And finally, second chance points, Ohio Northern 4, Capital 0. Now on to the individual statistics. Here's Jonathan.
Taking a look at leading scorers for both teams here. Starting off with Ohio Northern, they got 2 players with 6 points. That's the 5th leading scorer in OAC, C.J. Napier, and Carson Conley leading the way with 6 points apiece in this matchup. Right behind them, their teammate and Scott, Adam Scott, has 5 points right behind them. The leading rebounder also goes to Adam Scott. He's already surpassed his average. Average is about 5 rebounds per game. He's got 5 in this matchup. Right behind him, C.J. Napier, again calling his name, 4 rebounds in this matchup. Doing a good job of sharing the ball around. 6 team assists, as Charlie pointed out. Carson Conley and Landon Long with 2 apiece of their own. And doing the battle when it comes on the defensive end, having some steals. Adam Scott and C.J. Napier with 1 apiece of their own. Leading scorers for Capital, Griffin Dosick leading the way with 6, as well as coming off the bench, Nathan Gerber with 6 that came from behind the arc, doing 2 or 3 earlier in this first half. But the other starter who has 4 points behind him is Justin Nixon. Leading rebounder, Justin Nixon, with 6 rebounds of his own. Got to do a better job of spreading the ball around. Only the leading assister is 2 assists here, and that goes to Carter Combs. And there's 3 players with a steal of their own: Nathan Gerber, Ryan Seaver, and Don Megerly with a steal of their own here.
So, low-scoring game. Both teams had success early on from three-point land. Things kind of cooled off, particularly for Capital. But this game is still here for the taking. And, boy, how many times have we seen Capital either tied or trailing closely to an opponent at the half, only to see it slip away? These opening minutes of the second half, crucial for Capital.
Yeah, we've seen it in situations just like this. You know, right now they're only down by 4. 4 points right now. They've been in close ones when it comes to Marietta or John Carroll. They played them close, a good defensive matchup, not letting it get too far away from them. What happens in that second half, I couldn't tell you. I don't know what goes on in the locker room, but for some reason, some way, the energy is consistent the way how they start the games off. Slow, not necessarily lethargic, but they're not coming out with something here to finish the game out here strong. And you're on the home court here. They're 4-6 at home right now in this season, and the way that they come out in second halves is, I don't want to say piss poor, but it's just, you know, they're not coming out here with any effort or efficiency to start off the second half. And if they come out here with a nice run, then this momentum can swing in their general direction. However, Ohio Northern's got the hot hand right now, and if they come out the same way that they started off, because they had to lead 5-0, it was a good 2 to 3 minutes that Capital struggled to get shots to fall, and if they come out with that same energy here, it's going to be tough to finish the game out.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have the start of the second half. It's Ohio Northern 27, Capital 23 on athletics.capital.edu. Let's start the second half. Capital trailing Ohio Northern 27-23. And let's see if the Comets can get off to a better start to begin this half than they did at the beginning of the game. Long. Now it's swung all the way around to Napier. Napier trying to back his man down. Back out to Miller. Miller stopped defensively. 7 to shoot. Napier long 3, and he knocks it down.
Talked about this, picking up right where they left off, man. With a hot hand from behind the arc.
Ohio Northern 30, Capital 23. And we're not even a minute into the second half. Combs over to Megerly. Over to Seaver. And a kick ball, and it's going to stay here with Capital.
Hopefully Capital has some good discussions in the locker room, and Coach Goodwin has got a plan here to get his team scoring here.
Over to Megerly on the left wing to Crawford. Crawford dribbling around. Jumper, no good. Battle for the ball. Ohio Northern comes up with it. Miller will push it ahead to Napier. Napier missing the layup. Tipped around, and a foul is going to be called against Michael Berner for over the back. His team's first of the half. Crawford will get it to Megerly, who will tap it right back to Crawford. Crawford to Combs, to Seaver, now to Dom. Megerly trying to go down the lane. Nice spin move, but can't get the layup to go with the left hand, and a rebound taken by Ohio Northern. Miller trying to put a move on Seaver, but Seaver was unfazed that time. Napier now on the right wing. Over to Scott. Scott near the foul line, twisting, turning, jumper, no good. Rebound taken by Dosick. Crawford nearly losing out of bounds that time, but recovers. He'll go down the lane, and he will score.
Always zooming straight to the hole.
30-25. Ohio Northern with the lead. Just about 2 minutes into the second half. Crawford nearly poking out of the way, but Scott gets it back for the Polar Bears. 15 to shoot for ONU. Scott, tough jumper, and somehow he swishes it through. Great defense by Dom Megerly, but better offense by Scott.
You said it best right there.
32-25. Ohio Northern with the lead. 17:45 to play in the second half. Megerly to Combs. Combs, step back three.
Flash!
Knocks it down. Carter Combs, a sophomore from Westchester. Maybe that's a harbinger of things to come here in the second half for the young gun.
Combs, the leading scorer here on Capital, is 12th in OAC, averaging 12 points per game.
Long, passing over to Miller. Now they'll go inside of the big man Berner. Berner now passing over to Miller. 12 to shoot. And now a foul will be called against Crawford, team's first of the half. And a substitution for the Comets as Roth will check in. Dom will take a seat. 32-28. ONU with the lead. 17-13 to play in the second half. Long, passing over to Miller. Miller gets out of the corner. Over to Scott. Scott to Long. To Napier, but that's over everybody's head, out of bounds, and that's a turnover for the Polar Bears. Capital with the basketball. Roth will inbound it to Crawford. He'll bring it across half court. As Capital goes, it's half court set. Combs, right wing, passing off to Roth. Now inside to Dosick. Dosick trying to go baseline, trying to find some room. Over to Seaver. 9 to shoot for Capital. Combs, another step back three. That's no good. Rebound taken by Scott, his 6th of the game.
He got up there, I'll tell you that.
32-28. ONU with the lead, under 16.5 to play. And a tough shot made by Landon Long. The senior from Mason, Ohio, went into the trees and somehow got that shot to go.
That's 5 for him on the night. We'll just call that strength, headed to the hole.
Roth, double teamed, almost threw it away. Dosick gets it. And nice job by Griffin Dosick that time. He got Napier up in the air and then finished it at the rim. Capital down by 4, 34-30, 15:58 to play in the second half. And a foul called against Roth. His first, team second. And now Nixon will check in. Dosick will take a seat. Meanwhile, for Ohio Northern, they will send in Carson Conley.
Still a 4-point matchup here, so Capital's keeping it within the same score here.
Napier, guarded by Seaver. Napier tried to back his man down, but instead passing over to Conley. Now it's back over to Napier with 10 to shoot. Over to Burner, jumper, no good. Rebound taken by Roth. Roth passing it ahead, but it's intercepted by the big man Burner. He was trying to get it over to Combs that time, but Burner had a read on it. Miller across half court. To Burner. Hand off to Long. Back inside. Burner slams it down.
With some authority.
36-30 in favor of ONU. 15:09 to play in the second half. Inside, Crawford trying to get a shot off. Nixon able to get that one to go. Impressive. Trims the Ohio Northern lead to 4, 36-32, 14:50 to play. C.J. Napier over to Conley. Now inside to Burner. Over to Long. Long trying to dribble in, twisting, turning, hook shot. That's no good. Rebound. Will go out of bounds and will stay with Ohio Northern.
I will say it's been a back and forth matchup here coming out to start the second half. You expect, I'm telling you, the team who's going to go off here on a run is going to have momentum swing in their general direction.
McCain Fickenbein will check in for Capital as Crawford will take a seat on the bench. Northern, meantime, will inbound it. They'll get it into Napier. Napier guarded by Seaver. Along the right block. Tough shot. Good defense by Seaver. And the rebound collected by Nixon. Here comes McCain the other way. McCain drops it off. Nixon can't get the shot to go, but he did get fouled. So he will head to the foul line.
I'll call that on Ethan Bell, his first, team second.
And now, looks like a timeout's going to be taken here. This will only be a 30-second timeout, so we'll keep things here at the Capital Center. 14:20 to play in the second half. Ohio Northern leading Capital 36-32. Made mention of this during the pregame show, but I think it's worth repeating. Our final two broadcasts for Capital men's basketball will be on February 15th and February 18th. Pioneers come a-calling on the 15th. That'll be a 7 o'clock game that you can listen to, that you can watch here on athletics.capital.edu. And then finally, the regular season finale, February 18th. Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets come to town. That game is scheduled for a 2 o'clock tip. And then after that, right into the OAC tournament.
Yeah. And lacrosse seasons.
Yep. All the spring sports. Baseball, softball. Yep, it's right around the corner. He's got to put up with the cold for a few more weeks as Nixon is able to knock down the first free throw.
That's Ohio for you. We had some nice little summer weather in early January. Now we're back in the 20 and belows.
Nixon knocking down the second free throw. Boy, I can't remember a winter where the temperature is just yo-yoing up and down. It has been crazy so far. Meantime, Bell over to Burner. Spin move, tough shot, and a foul will be called as Will Miller will head to the free throw line. And the foul will go against Roth, his second. Team's third. So Miller, freshman out of Ottoville, Ohio. So he is a freshman on this Polar Bears team as he misses the first free throw.
73% on the season on the free throw line.
As Dosick will check in for Nixon. So he's a freshman for the Polar Bears. Ryan Seaver is a sophomore. And both those guys went to Ottoville High School. So former high school teammates facing off against one another in the collegiate ranks. That's pretty cool.
It's always good to, see your teammates and now once teammates, now rivals.
Combs for three. That's no good. Napier grabbing the rebound for Ohio Northern. 36-34. Capital only down by 2. 13:40 to play in the second half. Bell to Burner. Swung around to Napier. 9 to shoot. Napier drives in. Can't score, and the rebound is taken by McCain. Finkenbein will bring it across half court to Roth. Roth finding out of a double team. Step back three. No good, and the rebound is taken by ONU. Miller across the timeline. Now he'll slow things up a little bit as ONU readies for this half-court set. And now Bell, he got bumped as the foul looks like will go against Griffin Dosick, his first. Team's fourth. Looks like Napier and Burner, the two big men, will get a chance to relax here a little bit. Mason Studer will check in for the Polar Bears, along with Adam Scott. Oh, and Heath Jeffries, checks into the game. 12:57 to play in the second half. Only a 2-point edge for ONU here, so this is anybody's game at this point. Scott trying to dribble baseline against Dosick. Good defense by Griffin. Fall away jumper. No good by Scott. Rebound taken by Crawford. Here comes Caleb. Over to Roth. Roth back to Crawford. Swung around to Finkenbein. McCain drops it off for Gerber. Now back to Finkenbein. McCain for three.
Splash.
Knocks it down, and Capital takes the lead. 37-36. Nice, confident three-point shot by McCain Finkenbein. And McCain almost poking it away and causing an Ohio Northern turnover there, but the Polar Bears keep possession. 17 to shoot. Bell over to Scott. He'll drive down the lane, and an offensive foul will be called against Adam Scott. A very interesting pattern that I'm kind of picking up on. We've seen those 50-50 plays, and it seems like all those plays have been going in favor of the defensive player, drawing the charge.
Well, this time goes in favor for Capital, so we'll see if they can capitalize on this turnover.
37-36. Capital with a 1-point lead. 11:49 to play in the second half. Crawford down the lane. Tough shot. Gets it to go. Extends the Capital lead to 3. 39-36. Bell fighting through a screen. Jumper in the lane. No good. Rebound by Jeffries. Now over to Scott. 15 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Conley back outside to Scott for three. No good. Crawford with the rebound for Capital. Caleb coming the other way. Finkenbein. Roth thought about a three. Inside. Crawford. 10-footer. No good. Rebound taken by Studer of ONU. Studer will bring it across half court. Passing off to Bell. Now in the hands of Scott. Back in the hands of Studer. Studer dribbling to his left. Now over to Bell. Bell, after being double teamed, passing over to Studer, who lost it. Roth had his hands on it. Then Ohio Northern gets it back. Then it goes out of bounds, and they give it to Capital. And Neil Young, the first-year ONU head coach, is furious with Ethan Bell and the way that he was handling the basketball on that possession.
Turnovers are costly here. Ohio Northern with 10. Capital with 8. This matchup here.
Crawford. Cross half court. Capital 39, Ohio Northern 36. 10:28 to play in the second half. Finkenbein to Crawford. Crawford probing the defense. Thought about passing. Now it's over to Seaver. Back over to Crawford. 5 to shoot. Crawford better think about shooting this one. Three-pointer. No good. Rebound taken by Miller of ONU. Still a three-point edge for Capital. Scott up ahead, and he got fouled by Nixon.
Actually, they're calling that on Crawford.
Interesting. Okay. So instead of Nixon's first, that's Crawford's second. Team's fifth of the half, and now Scott, who shoots 68% from the foul line. He's done a little bit of everything tonight for Ohio Northern. Yeah, his first free throw is up and good. So Scott now with 8 points, 6 rebounds. Hasn't shot the ball all that well from the field. Only 3 of 9. Does have a three-pointer. 1 of 3 from downtown. As the shot is up and good for Scott. Brings Ohio Northern to within 1. 39-38, under 10 minutes to play in the second half. Finkenbein over to Crawford. To Combs. Combs, floater, no good. Rebound taken by Burner.
So back and forth matchup here.
Miller and the Polar Bears trying to retake the lead inside. Burner can't get the shot to go, but he got fouled.
Finkenbein, his second.
Team 6 of the half.
That'll put Ohio Northern in the bonus.
And as is often the case, big men tend to really struggle with free throws. Burner is an example of that. 51% from the free throw line. As I say that, he swishes it through.
Hey, 50-50 chance. So he's got another one here. We'll see if he can go perfect from the line.
Second free throw up, front rim. Boy, how can you go from a swish to front rim like that?
50%.
39-39, game tied. Finkenbein for 3.
Splash!
Knocks it down. McCain Finkenbein, the freshman from Anna, Ohio, helps Capital retake the lead. 42-39. Will Miller inside to Napier, double teamed. Napier somehow gets it back out to Scott, to Burner. Now in the hands of Miller. 10 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Actually, that's Long. Long driving inside, and then a foul call, looks like, against Finkenbein.
It's going to be his third.
Team 7th.
And let's see if that sends him to the free throw line, and that'll be C.J. Napier.
1-1 for Ohio Northern here. Tom Magerle will check in for Capital. Will come in for Combs. So the 1-1 upcoming here for Napier. 79% free throw shooter on the season. Tonight, 2 of 4 from the foul line. Shot is up. That's no good. Tipped around, and Seaver comes away with the ball for Capital. Capital 42, Ohio Northern 39. Crawford to Magerle. Bounced over to Nixon. Now in the hands of Combs. Combs to Magerle. Dom. 3. No good. Rebound taken by ONU. 8:40 to play. Capital 42. Ohio Northern 39. Burner to Long to Miller. Miller left wing. Dribbles to his right. Double teamed. Passing out of it to Napier. Napier, spin move, missed it, gets his own miss, puts it back up and in.
And 1.
Strong move that time by C.J. Napier as he simply took the ball away from Nixon that time.
That foul going on Ryan Seaver, team's 8th. As Napier has another opportunity to go at the free throw line after splitting the first one.
Napier now with 11 points. To go along with 6 rebounds, trying to make it 12 with this free throw, trying to tie this game. It's up, and it's good. So we're tied at 42, 8:21 to play. And now a substitution as Napier will get a quick breather on the bench. Coming in for him is Carson Conley, the junior out of Newark. So now let's see what Capital can do here offensively as they try to retake this lead. Crawford, top of the arc, passing over to Combs. Combs trying to drive against his man, trying to put a move on him. Now over to Crawford. 14 to shoot for the Comets. Over to Seaver. Seaver for 3. That's way off the mark, and the rebound's taken by Long. So now ONU with a chance to take the lead in this spot. Swung around to Long. Inside to Burner. The big man Burner giving it off to Miller. Miller trying to drive against Crawford. Double team. Somehow gets it over to Burner, but an offensive 3 seconds called against ONU. Good defense by Capital.
We'll take that, forcing a turnover here. This tie matchup, like we said, neither team has kind of taken the strong hold here. 4 points, 2 points back and forth, switching the lead here. In the tie matchup here, we'll see who's going to try to take the edge here in these closing minutes.
Griffin Dosick back in for Capital. Tied at 42, under 7.5 to play. Gerber inside to Dosick. Dosick lost it. Turnover Capital as Burner comes away with a loose ball for ONU. Long across half court. Guarded by Crawford. Over to Scott. Scott in the corner. Inside to Miller. Miller dribbling around. Back out. Long for three. Off the mark. Rebound by Gerber. Gerber ahead to Crawford. Crawford trying to go down the lane. Got fouled. So that foul will go against Landon Long, his first. And only the team's fourth of the half. Now Scott will check out. Napier back in for the Polar Bears. Magerle top of the arc. Over to Crawford. Crawford dribbling to his left. Jumper. Knocks it down. Capital retakes the lead, up by 2.
That was a good shot right there by Crawford.
Now let's see what Ohio Northern does for a rebuttal. Will Miller to Long. Now in the hands of Napier. Over to Burner. In the hands of Long. 13 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Kick ball. Reset the shot clock to 20. .6:21 to play. Capital by 2 in a low-scoring game, 44-42. Combs almost had a beat on that inbounds pass, but Ohio Northern able to inbound it. Napier now back outside to Long. Long, he'll try to drive, cut off by Combs. Over to Miller, 3, no good, but Napier grabs the offensive board. 18 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Triple team. Napier somehow gets that ball to go. Man, you want to talk about a crafty move.
Three great jerseys on him, and he still was able to get the ball into the basket.
There's a reason why he's one of the leading scorers in the OAC. 44 all. 5:43 to play in the second half. Crawford to Gerber. Now to Magerle. Inside. Gerber almost lost it. Then he puts it home. 46-44. Boy, this is fun. Back and forth affair between the Comets and the Polar Bears. And a timeout will now be taken by ONU. Gives us a chance to catch our breath. 5:23 to play in the second half. It's Capital 46, Ohio Northern 44 on athletics.capital.edu. We got a good one here brewing at the Capital Center. 5:23 to play in the second half. Capital with a 2-point lead, 46-44. Jonathan, low scoring, yes, but exciting as well.
Yeah, it's a very close matchup here. Both teams responding back and forth with each other coming out into the second half here. So With about 5:20 left to see in this matchup, we'll see who's going to take the edge.
Miller, right wing being guarded by Roth. To Scott, now to Napier. Napier trying to drive off the glass, no good, but an offensive board by Ohio Northern. Napier back with the basketball in his hands. He'll try to drive against Dosick, but instead over to Burner. Now in the hands of Miller. 8 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Miller down the lane, passing off to Burner. He got stripped out of bounds. They'll give it to Capital.
It's good defense right there from Capital. Surrounding the big man, stripping Burner, and creating the turnover here.
4:47 to play. Capital 46. Ohio Northern 44. Boy, if Capital could just get one final kick, one final run in here, that'd be really good. Combs driving down the lane. Now to Gerber. Gerber long jumper, and he knocks it down. Nate Gerber. Boy, how about some of the shots that he's made tonight?
Off the bench, 12 points.
Definitely take that. Miller, meantime, dribbling around, almost lost it, and now a foul is going to be called against Roth, who does a little roll on the floor. Let's hope he's okay. Third foul on Roth, team's 9th. So now Dom Magerle and McCain Finkenbein will check out as Roth is limping a little bit, heading back to the Capital bench.
I think they banged knees there. That truly does hurt.
That is not a good feeling.
It was like equivalent. There's like similar pains there. Just banging knees and stubbing your toe.
Those are both not good feelings. As the front end of the 1-and-1 is missed. It's now Capital 48, Ohio Northern 44. 4:08 to play here in the second half. Magerle, right wing. Over to Combs. Finkenbein, 3. No good. Rebound taken by the big man Burner. Miller up ahead to Scott. Scott denied. Dosick with the block. And then out of bounds as 2 Polar Bears are on the floor. It goes out of bounds. They'll give it to the Polar Bears. Nate Gerber trying to plead his case, but to no avail.
Big man coming off the bench, 6'6" junior, and putting up points, doing dirty work down low, rebounds and blocks. Somebody's got to do it.
Scott down the lane, gets the shot to go. And now Griffin Dosick is down as officials' time is called for an injured player.
All right, where the sun don't shine.
Yeah. I think that's pretty straightforward. Good for him, though. He's getting up. He's going to the bench. He'll get checked out. I'm sure he'll be just fine. Capital 48, Ohio Northern 46. 3:38 to play in the second half. Boy, we've been talking about really bad injuries the last couple of seconds. Places you don't want to get hit. Finkenbein on the left wing. He'll go inside to Nixon. Nixon dribbling around. Back out to Combs. 12 to shoot. Combs trying to put a move on his man. Trying to go down the lane. Cut off. Oh, and then he turns it over. Right to Burner. 48-46. So now ONU has a chance to either tie or take the lead as we rapidly approach 3 minutes to go. Three-pointer on the way. That's no good. Rebound out of bounds. They'll say it went off of ONU. So they'll give it to Capital. 2:58 to play.
That was a good shot taken by the Polar Bears. Ethan Bell was able to create some space, and luckily that didn't fall in for Capital. We'll see how they can respond here with a 2-point lead. You want to try to grow on this. And
Long will check back in for the Polar Bears. Crawford back in for the Comets. 2:58 to play. Just to update you on the foul situation. Capital with 9. Boy, Ohio Northern, they've been doing very well in that category. They only got 4 as a team. So 2:55 and counting. Finkenbein across half court. To the right wing, now in the hands of Crawford. Crawford top of the arc. Surveys the defense. Passing off to Gerber. Gerber, left wing. 15 to shoot for Capital. Over to Combs. Combs dribbling inside. Nixon to the bucket. Count the basket and a foul. Big man is excited. Big man making big plays.
We like that.
So now Nixon with a chance at a three-point play, but before then, timeout. And this is going to be a full timeout, which means that we'll step away for a minute. 2:37 to play here in the second half. It's Capital 50, Ohio Northern 46, athletics.capital.edu. .237 left to play in the second half. Capital leading Ohio Northern 50-46. Why has Capital been able to grab this lead late?
Hey, Capital has shown some energy here, attacking the basket, drawing fouls here, getting to the free throw line. And right now they're sitting up with a 4-point lead as Nixon has a 3-point play opportunity here, making it a 5-point game. They're trying to finish and close out this game here strong.
Justin Nixon will head to the foul line trying to complete the 3-point play. He's already got 10 points and 7 rebounds. Might be on track for a double-double tonight. Shot is up. And short for Nixon. So it remains a 4-point lead for Capital, 50-46. 2.5 to play in regulation. Napier guarded by Nixon. Napier trying to go past Nixon. Napier puts up a shot. Count the bucket and a foul. And Nixon can't believe it.
He just stood straight up tall. That's his second, team's 10th. As this sends Napier to the line, and it's only a 2-point game here, so we'll see if he can try to tie the game up here.
Napier's shot is up and good. Brings Ohio Northern to within 1, 50-49. Now things start to ratchet up here a little bit. 1-point lead for Capital as we rapidly approach 2 minutes to go. Gerber to Combs. Crawford, jumper, no good. Tipped around, and Napier grabs the rebound for Ohio Northern. So now the Polar Bears have a chance to pull ahead. Napier spinning around. Came very close to traveling with the basketball there. Nice pivot foot. Miller on the right wing. Miller inside. Almost stolen away. Inside, and the layup is missed by Miller. I mean, man, you want to talk about a point-blank shot. And a foul then called on the other end against Ohio Northern as Napier is whistled for the reach-in. I am still in awe of how Miller missed that shot. I mean, a layup cannot get any easier than that.
Fundamentals. And that just did not go in for them, and that's one they're going to want to have back here.
And last foul, 16 foul. Inside, and Combs scores. And now a timeout taken by Ohio Northern. I mean, what a swing right there. It seems as though that Ohio Northern has an easy shot on the inside. Will Miller averages 7.5 points per game. One of the better shooters on this Ohio Northern team just flat out misses it. And then on the other end, Combs is able to convert. That's a big swing in favor of Capital.
Yeah, that was just good ball movement from Ohio Northern to create that shot. And, you know, those shots don't come easy. I mean, they do come easy, and you're expected to make them. And that one just didn't go in. But Capital doing what they're supposed to do and capitalizing on that missed opportunity here and extending this to a 3-point lead.
Sometimes you need some breaks to go your way. And so far, that's been the case for Capital, but then again, we still have 1:27 left to play. Good news for Capital, they're up by 3, playing pretty well offensively. So now Ohio Northern with a chance here. as Napier will inbound it to Miller. The man who moments ago missed an easy layup. Can he atone for that? Miller to Scott. Scott, 15-footer, off the mark, no good, and a key rebound there by Combs. So now Combs will take it across half court. Minute 10 remaining. Gerber to Magerle. 18 to shoot for the Comets as the clock will tick under a minute to play. Capital by 3. 9 to shoot for the Comets. Crawford will drive inside. Can't get that basket to go. Battle for it. Out of bounds, and they will give the ball to the Comets.
Ohio Northern, I don't know if they were surprised or not at the ball when it touched the top of the backboard that it didn't go out of bounds.
The good news is Capital will have the ball, but the bad news is they only got 2 seconds to work with on the shot clock. So Damon Goodwin, being the veteran coach that he is, calls the timeout and will now try to draw up a play here. What do you do here offensively if you're Capital? Don't have a lot of time to work with on the shot clock, but obviously you want to get a good shot off, right? Correct?
You got a quick opportunity to pass that ball in here. I mean, we've seen shots going up and with 0.8 left on the clock here, so it's still, I won't say plenty of time, but you got enough time to get a smart selected shot. So it's just about how you run your inbound play here, and if you're looking for a 3-point shot, a 2-point shot. If I'm Capital, I'm looking to get a nice either mid-range or down-low shot that's going to force a foul to the free throw line. You know you're in the bonus here, so if you can draw a foul, that just puts you at the free throw line.
Stay tuned after the game. If Capital is able to win this game, we might have a player that will join us up here in the booth. And also check out social media across all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and the like, as we'll be able to interview players after the game. Boy, this would feel really good for Capital. It's been kind of a tough stretch for the Comets as of late, losing to Wilmington earlier in the week. That was followed by a loss to John Carroll in that many people weren't giving Capital a chance in that game against the Blue Streaks. They gave John Carroll all that they can. We were here for the frustrating loss against Otterbein. It would just be a good win for Capital here tonight as we start off the month of February.
Yeah, boost morale and just get back on the right track and right direction and kind of pick up where they left off.
So Crawford will inbound in front of the Capital bench. Trying to find somebody. Gets it into Combs. Combs will hoist a 3. That's way off the mark. That's a shot clock violation. Gives the ball to Ohio Northern with 45.9 seconds to go.
Less than a minute here. How will Ohio Northern respond?
You got to think that Napier is going to touch the ball at some point on this offensive possession. As Miller passing it off to Long. Now it's to Napier. Napier being guarded by Crawford. Now back in the hands of Miller. 15 to shoot for the Polar Bears. Under 30 seconds to play. To Napier. Napier, right wing. Napier driving, and now a timeout taken by Ohio Northern.
So defense,
with that timeout being taken, it stops the clock with 24 seconds, 9 seconds to shoot for Ohio Northern. So take me through what Ohio Northern's talking about offensively. Take me through what Capital needs to do here defensively.
That was good. That was a good defensive stance by Capital right there. You're forcing head coach Young to call a timeout here. I don't know if they were looking for the 3, but they were outside and they're also in the bonus, so I don't know why you're not looking to charge to the basket and draw a foul here. But if you're Capital, you don't want to give up a 3, but you want to protect the inside of this paint here and try to force a jumper of some sort, but you don't want to create an opportunity down low. But Ohio Northern, we've seen them move the ball around efficiently here, so they do know how to swing the ball from side to side, but we just saw a good defensive stance, and Goodwin is going to tell them to play their man straight up, don't foul, and hopefully it turns out in Capital's favor.
Ohio Northern looking for the tie, looking to at least inch closer to Capital. It's Capital leading Ohio Northern 52-49, 24 seconds to go. ONU has gone 6 of 17 from three-point land, good for only 35% on the night, which oddly enough is very close to their season average as a team. They shooting around 33% as a team heading into play tonight. Napier right wing. 5 to shoot. Forces up a tough shot, and then Nixon called for a foul, although the fans here at the Capital Center thought that was all ball, not his hand or his wrist. Be that as it may, Napier will now be heading to the free throw line.
He's got 2 shots here. On the night, he's 4-7, so we'll see what he does here.
Napier's first shot is up and no good. So no good for Napier. He'll get one more try as he will try to draw Ohio Northern to within 2 of Capital. Again, Napier usually a really reliable free throw shooter. 78% heading into play tonight, but he's been a little bit off tonight as the second free throw is good. So now Napier will check out. Coming in will be Carson Conley. Shot clock turned off. 18.8 seconds to go. Capital leading by 2. And now a timeout is going to be taken here. Okay. So I would have to think at the very top of the list, ball security, ball security, ball security. You can't turn the ball over in a spot like this.
You got one job. I'm telling you, if you're able to get the ball in, hold it, they're going to have to foul. And they're already in the bonus, so they don't have any fouls to give. So you know you're going to head to the free throw line here. But that's the one thing they have to do is just get the ball inbounds safely. And we know that Ohio Northern is going to bring a full court pressure here, try to cause a turnover. And it's only a 2-point game here. Key missed shots here for Ohio Northern, so they've had opportunities here. So if Capital can get this ball in safely, I think they can pull away with this.
52-50, Capital with a 2-point lead, 18.8 seconds to go. Some of the standout performers in this game so far, C.J. Napier, one of the leading scorers in the OAC, with 18 points tonight. He has shot 6 of 17 from the field, 1 of 2 from three-point land. Adam Scott, meanwhile, the only other double-digit scorer for Ohio Northern on the night. He's got 11 points to go along with 6 rebounds. Meanwhile, for Capital, only 2 players in double figures scoring. Justin Nixon, 10 points, 7 rebounds. And how about the play of Nate Gerber coming off the bench, 10 points to go along with 5 rebounds. He's played big for Capital tonight.
Doing a good job coming off the bench, and the big man started off with the hot hand from behind the arc and doing dirty work down low, 5 rebounds, and let's see if they can close out here. Got to get the ball in safely.
So Crawford will inbound. Gerber, Finkenbein, and Combs nearby, and they'll get it into Seaver. Now back to Crawford. Foul will be called. 16.7 to go. Looks like the foul is going to be called against Berner. That's the 17th foul in Ohio Northern. So this is going to be a 1-and-1. And they send to the free throw line a guy that quite honestly has really struggled from the foul line. It's been an up and down year for Caleb Crawford this year from the charity stripe.
Yeah, it's 59% on the season. It's a 1-and-1 opportunity here. No pressure, but they say pressure makes diamonds. So let's see if Crawford can get this one to fall.
First free throw up and good for Crawford. He has made it a 3-point lead. Now trying to make it a 4-point lead here.
Ohio Northern has no timeouts remaining.
Crawford up. No good. Ohio Northern with the ball. 12 seconds to go. Capital trying to hold on here. Miller over to Napier. Napier for 3. No good. Rebound taken by Combs, who gets fouled with 3.4 seconds to go. You knew that Napier was going to touch the ball with him being the top offensive performer on this Polar Bears team. He misses the shot, and a key rebound there for Combs, who now has a chance to put it away at the foul line.
That was good pressure right there from Capital. You knew the only shot that they had to take was a 3-pointer right there, and they did a good job of causing the trap up top, forcing it, making Napier take a deep 3.
Combs misses the front end of the 1-and-1. And out of bounds. It's a turnover for Ohio Northern, giving the ball back to Capital with 0.3 of a second left. And now, just to be sure, a timeout's going to be taken by Capital, it looks like. Oh, man, if you're Ohio Northern here, you got to be feeling sick because you had a chance to tie with a 3 with the ball in the hands of your best player. And then after Capital misses the front end of the 1-and-1 there, you get another opportunity only to see it slip away.
Yeah, that was just good pressure right there from Capital. Good half-court pressure right there. And you talk about that one, I want to go back earlier to that missed opportunity by Ethan Bell, missing that two-pointer down low, and that would have been a tie game right there for Ohio Northern. They've had opportunities, just not unable to capitalize. With 0.3 left, 0.3 of a second, all Capital has to do is just inbound the ball safely.
0.3 of a second remain on the clock. And from a mathematical standpoint, unless Ohio Northern steals it here, there's just not enough time to get a final shot off at this point. This will go down as a hard-fought win for Capital. A win that they needed, a win that will keep their chances alive for a possible home game when play begins in the OAC tournament. Crawford will inbound it near the Pride of the Purple, the official student section of the Capital Comets. Crawford with the ball. And a timeout's going to be taken by Crawford. Well, I guess he wants to just to be sure, but even if you throw in a turnover, there just isn't enough time for Ohio Northern to even get a shot off, right? Or am I missing something here?
You're not missing anything. I don't think there's any way possible for them to get a shot off, but if they were to get a 5-second violation right there, if they were to get a 5-second violation, does that mean that Ohio Northern gets to take possession on their side or where the ball was turned over?
I think where the ball is turned over.
So regardless, it's 0.3 of a second here.
I would have just thrown it in there, have somebody touch it, and the game would have been over. But that's just me. That's just me. Damon Goodwin's crew, they want to make sure that they end this game the right way, that they do get out of here with a win. They should be able to get out of here with a win. With a win tonight, again, Capital would keep their chances at a home game in the OAC tournament alive. It would improve their conference record to 7-7 overall. And depending upon what happens with Otterbein tomorrow, could end up finding themselves in a tie with the Cardinals, although Otterbein was the one that they swept them.
Yeah,
So we'll see. Yeah, everybody else in the OAC playing tomorrow afternoon. So take 2. Crawford just looking to get the ball inbounds. He'll throw it in. And that is the ball game. Good win for Capital. They are able to edge Ohio Northern tonight by a final of 53-50. Again, the final score, Capital 53, Ohio Northern 50. Stay tuned. Should be talking with a Capital player post-game here, and be sure to tune in to social media for Capital across all platforms, as we'll have interviews following this game. Again, the final score, Capital 53, Ohio Northern 50. This has been a presentation of Capital Men's Basketball, athletics.capital.edu. Welcome into the postgame show. Our final tonight from the Capital Center. Capital 53, Ohio Northern 50. Capital getting a much-needed win, keeping their chances at a home game in the OAC tournament alive. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats from this game, beginning with the team statistics. Ohio Northern shot 33% from the field, Capital 39% from the field. Polar Bears go 6 of 18 from downtown, good for 33%. Capital 7 of 23 from beyond the arc, good for only 30%. Free throws, Capital 6 of 10, 60%. Ohio Northern 8 of 16, good for 50%. Ohio Northern ends up out-rebounding Capital 40-32 in this game. Other team statistics of note: assists, Capital 11, Ohio Northern 8. Turnovers, Ohio Northern 13, Capital 12. Bench points proved to be huge in this game for Capital as they outscored Ohio Northern in that category 24-9. Fast break points, not a lot for either team. Each team had 3. Steals, Ohio Northern 6, Capital 5. Points off turnovers, Capital 11, Ohio Northern 6. Points in the paint, Ohio Northern 22, Capital 18. And finally, second chance points, Ohio Northern 11, Capital 0. Now on to the individual statistics. We begin with Ohio Northern. CJ Napier didn't disappoint, one of the top scorers in the OAC for a reason. He ends up having 18 points to go along with 8 rebounds. Shot 6 of 18 from the field, only 1 of 3 from three-point land. The only other double-digit scorer for Ohio Northern on the night was Adam Scott. He had 11 points to go along with 7 rebounds. Other scorers on the night for the Polar Bears: Carson Conley had 6, 5 points for Landon Long, 4 points for Will Miller, and 3 points each for Michael Berner and Ethan Bell. Individual scores for Capital now. 2 players end up going for double digits in scoring. Justin Nixon, the big man, going for 10 points to go along with 7 rebounds. And also 10 points for Nate Gerber, who gave Capital a huge lift off the bench. He scores 10 points to go along with 5 rebounds, 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from three-point land. Caleb Crawford, 9 points to go along with 3 rebounds, 8 points for Griffin Dosick, 6 points for McCain Finkenbein, 5 points for Carter Combs, 3 points for Ryan Seaver, and 2 points for Dom Magerle. With the win tonight, Capital improves to 11-10 overall and 7-7 within conference play. Depending upon what happens with Otterbein tomorrow, Capital could find themselves in a tie for 5th place with the Cardinals, although Otterbein swept the season series, so the Cardinals would technically have the tiebreaker over Capital in that scenario. But probably the most important thing is Capital keeps the idea of hosting a game in the OAC tournament alive, as they are now only 2 games behind Heidelberg and Marietta. Each team's with 5 in the loss column, and each team tied for 3rd in the OAC, I should say, as well. So this is a big win for Capital as they improved to 11-10 overall and 7-7 within conference play. Meanwhile, the tough season continues for Ohio Northern. They dropped to 9-12 overall and 5-9 within OAC play. And we have a visitor here in the broadcast booth as Justin Nixon is joining us up top here. So, Justin, first off, congratulations on the win tonight. Big-time back-and-forth affair. You had a few breaks go your way as well, but ultimately the team makes clutch plays down the stretch, and you're in the win column tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a weird one, 53-50. You don't see that a lot, but, I mean, yeah, it was a battle all night long, and to come out on top, we love that.
10 points to go along with 7 rebounds. You had to go up against one of the top players in the OAC and CJ Napier tonight. What was that challenge like?
I mean, he's a player, so, I mean, yeah, it's difficult, but, you know, it's a team game, and all of us came together, and, you know, we came out on the win column, so it was all right.
Speaking of a team win, sometimes you have to have guys come off the bench and give you a lift. Nate Gerber was able to do just that. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 of free from three-point range. You had to be excited to see Nate go off like that.
I mean, he's one of those guys you just want to see succeed. And, you know, he came in, he's had a couple big games for us lately, and, you know, you love to see that, and we want it to continue. You know, he's one of those perp squad guys that just comes in every day and makes us better, and you love to see it happen.
It was a tough start to the week. Obviously, the close loss to Wilmington, and, you know, January was kind of an up and down month. Got to feel good to get a win here tonight at the very beginning of February, because I know you guys want to go on a little bit of a run, and you still want to keep your chances alive for an OAC tournament game, a home game to begin that tournament, correct?
Yeah, we just talked about that. You know, you want to be playing your best ball towards the end of the season, and we're hoping that this kind of kickstarts that, and we come out on top in our next couple matchups, and we have a good seeding going into the tournament.
You got a couple of tough road games against some really quality teams in the OAC, Heidelberg and Mount Union, and then you play Marietta and Baldwin-Wallace. In other words, no rest for the weary. The OAC continues to be really tough. What's going to be the message? What needs to happen in order to get a few key wins here down the stretch?
I mean, it's just going to be energy and defense. We're going to have to win on that side of the ball, especially against those teams. And, you know, going down to 2 hard away games, we're going to have to bring the energy. You just got to bring it every time, and especially when you're going away, you got to carry it with you.
All right, well, hey, enjoy this win tonight. Thanks for joining us up here.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Justin Nixon, join us here on the postgame show as Capital is able to come away with the win tonight. The final score, Capital 53, Ohio Northern 50. For my broadcast partner, Jonathan Brown, this is Charlie Dana saying one final time. The final score from the Capital Center tonight, Capital 53, Ohio Northern 50. This has been a presentation of Capital Comets men's basketball on athletics.capital.edu. We say so long and good night from Bexley, Ohio.